laptop from my garage, something fast enough that I can read wiring diagrams or manuals while I'm working on my vehicles, or bench testing something like this old instrument cluster that I have right here. So I dug my old 2014 Lenovo out of the closet. It has Windows 10 on it, and you can see it soaks up a lot of resources. We're already at 80% here in memory, and I have 3 things open here. Even if I close out of everything, and my memory is still hovering around 50%. This is what really bogs down Windows right now. Instead of throwing this thing away, we are going to fix its issues with Windows. We're going to start off by taking out the hard drive. So what we're going to be doing is installing a different type of Linux Mint. It runs a lot more efficient than Windows. I actually have Mint upstairs on my desktop too, because my desktop computer was unable to update to Windows 11. I know that's probably messed up a lot of people, or pissed off a lot of people that are unable to update to Windows 11. So they're kind of being forced by a new PC. So then I finally switched over to Linux Mint. Ubuntu in the past on an old Toshiba laptop that I had, my very first laptop that I ever bought back in 2006 for $1,100. I thought I was quite the man back then, spending, you know, like 2 months' pay on a laptop. All right, so we got off all the screws. Now we're gonna pop this puppy off. Before we go yanking anything, first thing I want to do is unhook this battery so that we don't fry anything. So you can see the battery comes out right here and connects to the motherboard. So we're going to go ahead and unplug that first. It looks like that just broke right off. All right, I'm just going to place that right there. All right, now it's safer. Then we got the battery unplugged. Now we can take this hard drive off. I also want to investigate the RAM on this puppy. Where's the RAM? I think it's right here. Oh, we can look into that later. I actually have RAM off of my donor computer. So let's go ahead and remove this hard drive now. So it has Windows on. I could erase it and put my Linux Mint on there. However, I kind of want to save this hard drive in case I ever do want something off of it. And I do have a spare solid state around coming out of that old Acer from back in the day. I gave to my son, and then he promptly broke. I should be able to just lift this puppy up. All right, let's unhook this hard drive. Just want to be careful with this. There we go. Slide this off. So I have the new hard drive here. I'm going to put it in there. Pop this old Windows drive off right here. Save that for later. The unclassified sticker, so I did use that at work for a little bit on a deployment. Still on my personal computer, but at work doing unclassified stuff, obviously. But this is definitely going to help out quite a bit whenever I started working on that cluster the other night, and tried using this computer and it really sucked. So I decided, hey, I'm going to give Linux Mint a try. You don't have to use a new hard drive. You could just use your same hard drive and just dual boot. All right, slide this new one in. There we go. Bolt it down. Same way we took it off. And if you don't have an extra hard drive lying around, you can just buy a pretty inexpensive one. You don't need a very big one. And solid states are pretty cheap these days. I'll definitely take a look online. It's another great thing about Mint is it does not take up very much space. I think it's like recommended like 20 gigs or something like that. I mean, I definitely get something a little bit bigger than that. I'd say like 128 gigs minimum, so you can save stuff depending on what you're doing on your computer. Before I button this up, I'm going to take a look at this RAM. I just want to see what we got here. It is a 4 gigabyte guy, and then what do we have over here? Another 4. Oh, this is 2, so 4 and a 2. I'll leave those right there. Let's see if I can go harvest off that Acer real quick before I put this back together. I think that's definitely going to be I think that's definitely going to be worth it if I can put a 8 in here. Hold on. Alright, so here's the donor, the Acer that I got to the hard drive that we installed over here. And I'm going to take a look at the RAM on this thing. Make sure we disconnect this first, the battery. There we go. Alright, so here's the RAM here. Already it looks like an 8. Yes, it is a 8 gig DD3. So if we put it here with this 4, that'd be 12. I wonder if this is compatible. I'm gonna have to do some research on this to see if it is actually compatible. See if I can replace this 2 with his 8. That would really increase the RAM on here. And one more thing taken out of the old Acer. Okay, so I just did some research on the RAM from the Acer and the little 2 gig from the Lenovo. So this is definitely a low voltage RAM stick, and that's what needs to go in this Lenovo. I did some research and I determined that the 8 gig stick that was in the Acer should work in here. It's actually a dual voltage RAM. So I'm not a big computer guy, but it should be okay to work in this computer. If you are swapping out RAM or something like that, make sure that you do a little bit of research before you start swapping RAM. Hopefully it works. I don't know. I still don't 100% trust this, but we're going to see. All right, let's get rid of the 2 gigabyte RAM. And we're going to put a nice big old 8 in there. Now we'll have 12 gigabytes of RAM. And it's going to be running Linux, so it's going to be super efficient. All right, so our new hard drive. We got a new RAM stick in there from our old Acer here. Lived a great life. Time for retirement. Now I'm going to plug this in here. Battery's back in. I'm going to put the case back on. I'm only going to put a few screws in in case there is a catastrophic failure. That's good for now. We got 2. All right. All right, now the exciting part. We're going to take our Linux operating system that we downloaded from the website. So you're just going to Google the Linux Mint website and hit download, and then you're going to look for the Xfce edition. That's the lightweight operating system that I'm putting on this laptop. And you can follow the instructions on how to flash it to a USB. We're going to put it into our laptop, and then we're going to turn on our laptop and get to the boot screen. So each computer is a little different. Some take you right to the boot screen, some do it automatically. But for Lenovo's, usually you got to press like the F12 key. Alright, and then it brings up this boot screen here. And from here, I can go down to our new operating system, which is Linux Mint Xfce. So Xfce is like a very light version of Windows, but it's a Linux. It's free too. It's a pretty neat little system. It runs really, really efficiently on old computers and hardware. So that's why I ended up choosing this. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start Linux here. And hopefully it works with our new RAM and our new hard drive. I'm also going to plug in this mouse. Look at that. We can already see. Right now it's running strictly off of this thumb drive here. Alright, and here is Linux Mint. So once we have this open, there's only one thing we can do here, and go up to install Linux Mint. One of the cool things about Linux is you can install pretty much everything you can on Windows. It's usually super easy, just a quick Google, hey, I want this on my computer, and you can find it. You can get Spotify, Chrome, Mozilla, whatever you want to use on there. A bunch of different programs. I even started using it for video editing on my Linux Mint Cinnamon operating system. I'm using this one once again. It's Xfce. It's supposed to be a lighter version of Mint. So even lighter than Mint for this computer. I've never seen it, but from what I've heard, it's pretty lightweight and looks kind of like Windows XP actually. Like, look how small this bar is, just looking at it right now. All right. Installation is complete. That took approximately 10 minutes, almost exactly. We're going to restart it and test it out. All right, restarting it now, and it's already booted up. Welcome to Linux Mint. Let's go. Alright, so we got to start up here. Now you can change some desktop colors and do things like that. It has updates and whatnot, software manager. I just want to take a look at the task manager, see what kind of usage we got going on here. So memory, we're using about 1 gig, and it doesn't look like it's actually recognizing the other stick. That might be a problem. Open up the software manager. Oh, here's some really cool stuff. You can Discord, Spotify, VLC, a lot of great programs here. You can even do Steam if you're a video gamer. What am I going to do here? Oh yeah, I just want to put some Chrome on here. I spent the next 15 minutes or so updating and installing programs. I was also troubleshooting that 8 GB RAM stick. I ended up putting the 2 GB stick back in, and I will troubleshoot that later. Alright, now it has all 6 gigs of RAM in here. It's only using 17% of its memory compared to 50% of its memory on Windows with nothing else open. So let's see what happens when I open up a few things. Let's open up Gemini. We're going to open up this. Pretty intensive things. Alright, we're using up another gig. It's still running buttery smooth. Alright, now I'm going to use a tool called Warpenator to show how I can easily send files down to my shop. So I have my computer upstairs, my desktop running Mint as well. And if I need to ever send a file like a manual or wiring diagram, it should be pretty easy. So I can see my computer upstairs. Now I'm going to go upstairs and drop a file down to this laptop. Alright, now I got Warpenator open on my desktop computer. I'm going to take this 1990 diagram and I'm going to drag it over here. File transfers. Waiting for approval. So now I'm going to go back downstairs and hit approval, and it should pop up. I'm going to go downstairs now. Back at the laptop, let's see what we got. Waiting for your approval. Now we're going to hit accept and see what happens. Never actually used this before. It's pretty cool. Oh, completed immediately. Look at that. And we got a diagram there. Take a look at the task manager. Up to about 3 gigs. Not bad at all. Runs pretty smooth. Not full of a bunch of bull crap. This is 100% free. If you have an old laptop just sitting around collecting dust, don't throw it away. Throw a new hard drive in it, maybe a sticker in if you absolutely need it, and you can turn it into an actual working companion in your garage. Now I have a functioning laptop that's 12 years old now, and I can look up diagrams as I go. For my next project, I'm going to be bench testing this old Mooney's cluster out of the GMT 400 in 1990 that I found in the junkyard. Please stay tuned and watch that video. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.